They passed the health care bill on Monday, and I'm very scared because um, a lot of it wasn't told to the public or any of us who were voting. We don't know what's all in the bill, and so they could throw anything in there. It's just like they found a new law. They promised that kids with preconditions would be covered, and they found that's not true. So I can see that there's going to be a lot more issues that are going to come up, especially that, if you really think about it, 80 to 85% of Americans did not want this to go through right now until, they either looked over it or got a better idea what it was all about. 85% and it still was passed. So that should tell us as Americans what is really going on. Our voice has no bearing on anything. What we want as a society does not matter. It's whoever's sitting in that chair placing the vote. And they also filmed people getting paid off for this vote. It goes on and on and on, and I just hope that people will give this a second look. If you watch this video, ask your friends questions like, how is it that 85% of Americans did not want this to pass, and it was passed? Who's running who here? The government doesn't run us. It's supposed to be ran by the people. And I think that's where we as a society, as Americans, we're just being brainwashed, or I don't know what it is. We don't know our rights as human beings, especially Americans. It's frightening to think that people are that asleep. The way I see it, if this health care bill is passed under the circumstances that I understand, we will basically be under the government's thumb. They will tell you, you need to have a chip so it holds all your information, and they'll just say it's just for your convenience and theirs, and it would speed the health system up, yada, yada, yada. But in that chip, they could have tracking software in it. They could have all sorts of things put into that chip other than your medical information. And, they've lied to us once, or really thousands of times. They've experimented on us. The government now I'm talking of. So why wouldn't they do anything else? And that's what people think. The government would never do anything. But the history shows they have, and they will. And people think, oh, we're Americans, Americans wouldn't do that. Well, you get some greedy Americans, and they would. People are people all over the world. There's good and bad. I don't care who you are, an American, a Chinese, whatever. People need to wake up. There's some bad Americans out there, and there's some bad Americans in our government and in politics, and we just need to wake up and realize and listen to these. I know it's crazy, the conspiracy theories, but you don't have to believe in it wholeheartedly, but you can have it there as a reference. And that's what I've done. I've been looking at this since '88, and everything that I've read in '88 about the government buying up our homes, that's coming true right now. And they also talked about an economic collapse where this would be all possible to bring about a one world government, because without a crisis, especially a world crisis, is very important to do this. So people just need to open their minds. Don't be afraid of what you learn, because knowledge is power, and from there you can move and uh, do things, to wake others up, and that's basically what I'm doing. And it's kind of funny to see those that laughed at me years ago. Now they're not laughing anymore. They're listening with wide-eyed and bushy-tailed, I guess. They're listening to every word. So I'm just saying, I'm not happy with the health care bill. Contact your legislation and legislators and your congressmen, and let them know that this is not what you want. You want to repeal, and at least, I'm not against universal health care. I don't see why it couldn't be set up to where those who could not afford it, those, who are in that, they're not too poor enough, but yet they're not financially able enough to afford it, and maybe because of a precondition, those people need to be covered. But why should we have to provide for those that already have it right now? That's ridiculous. And that's another thing. The federal government is going to make this mandatory. If you do not have health care, you will be fined. So, and it's not going to be free. I think our taxes will go up from, up to 45% of your check's going to go to taxes. So, I just think there's other ways around it. Provide health care to those that are in that bracket that cannot receive it. Try to bring, which would be, I don't see how they'll do it, but the drug prices need to come down. But Big Pharma is tied in with government, so I think it's a sham anyway. It's bullshit. So whatever they have to do about drugs, we're going to pay regardless. But anyway, that doesn't mean we shouldn't try to get control over these medical expenses. I'm on Medicare and receive Medicaid, and I pay for my Medicare. And I do that because, I want to do my part. And I don't go to doctors unless I have to. I know people who are on Medicare and Medicaid. They burn it up. I mean, they go at every little sniffle, where if they had to pay for their insurance and all that, they wouldn't do it. And that's what frustrates me. People abuse the system, and I've caught charges on my Medicare bill that were not supposed to be there. So it's on both sides. It's the people using Medicare and Medicaid, and it's the doctors and other medical facilities abusing the system as well. So that needs to be addressed. There's all sorts of ways that we could really make our healthcare better, and not, it doesn't need to be mandatory, but it would be available to those who need, who are in that bracket, who cannot get it, or, have their own business, but, they can't afford to buy for their employees. So, there needs to be other options for people in that circumstance. But anyway, I'm going to end it here because it'll probably take forever to upload. But that's how I feel about the health care. And I hope you will listen to this and think about it and contact your legislators and congressmen and whoever else cares and it makes a difference. So you guys have a good day.